All right, guys. Sorry about that. We're just gonna give it a few minutes here to ensure that everyone can access the new stream and that we have everything set up. Sorry about that. I thought I was streaming live. I was going over all the questions. I thought it was weird that no one was saying any questions or chatting anything in the comments section. So my apologies there. It just first time streaming on YouTube here, so it's my fault for not being more prepared for this platform. Just going to give it a few minutes before we get into anything. Perfect. I see some people coming over now, so we're making headway. It's a bummer because like I said, I thought I was streaming on a completely different platform or on a different video, and apparently it wasn't the right one. I checked my Reddit halfway through, and it got a bunch of messages saying, "Hey, you're not. What's going on? You know, it's been a half an hour." So my apologies there, across the board, everyone. Just gonna give it another minute or two here. Give everyone that was coming from the last video a chance to pick up over here. And then I will start from the top. I'm just checking both links here to make sure that there's not many viewers left at the old one, and that they had a chance to see the comment and the chat history there. So bear with me just a couple more minutes. Now that we're live, we'll be able to zoom through this, answer all the questions in depth as needed, and be good to go. Just a few minutes. Okay, to not waste anyone else's additional time here, what I'm gonna do is just hop right into kind of where I started. Basically, I'll give a quick introduction about me, and then as we have more people with questions and you want more information, feel free just to type it in the chat here, and I'm gonna make this known as anyone has questions along the way. Again, sorry about that latency there, the late start. I thought we were recording and live, but it looks like we weren't. So, a quick bit about me. I'm Andrew Trenner. 6 years ago, I got into the marketing world, more specifically the B2B email marketing world. I wanted to have my own agency, but I didn't really know exactly what to do. I was pretty resourceful, and the way I got started was scraping emails off Craigslist from job postings and you know, work for hire postings, and I kind of created this network of businesses, and I'd reach out to them asking if they would pay me to promote them and try to get them leads, and I'd use that same network to promote those companies, you know. And one thing led to another. Obviously, that wasn't a very sophisticated process. That was very elementary, but it worked to get my feet wet and kind of get started. And over time, you know, we've grown to an agency, not just me working out of my basement, into better B2B leads as our core brand. but we have several other spin-offs for very niche services, and I will get into those. I don't want to promote myself too much right off the top here. So getting into the layout, what I think I'm going to do is just go over. I compiled a bunch of questions that I got in private messages or on comment threads once I announced that I was going to kind of take some time to launch the podcast that we're about to go by doing a live Q&A. So I'm going to start out with some of the questions that people had asked and sent me. But as you have questions, please feel free to inject those. Perfect. Yep. And awesome. I will get to these here. There's one I wanted to start with because it was just about open rates, and I feel like it's a very core question, knowledge-based answer to have. And I got this one about 10 times. So someone said, definitely interested, especially if you can cover how to maintain good open rates. And let's just pretend let's say you're doing cold email outreach and you're doing it via a Google email account, a Gmail account, maybe a business mail account that you're hosting on Gmail servers. Well, what you're going to want to do is, first off, don't just buy a domain, create an email account and warm it up, right? You're going to, and start sending cold emails. You're going to want to warm it up over 2 to 3 weeks by sending out 5, 10, 15, 20 outbound messages a day. Now, the best way to do this is not send out messages to a cold audience, but rather an audience that you kind of manufacture, or other email accounts you or your friends might have access to, that they're able to reply back and forth and create a dialogue. So outbound servers and inbound servers and email servers as a whole, they think, okay, cool, this new domain, this new sender, they're reputable, they're having real conversations, their emails are getting opened and replied and engaged with, it's very organic. So as you scale up and you go from 5, 10, 15, 30, whatever, over the course of a few weeks, it looks very real and organic. Now, once that is done and you start introducing a cold audience, you still need to keep that reputation up, and you need to keep that positive I guess vibe going, or reputation, by having emails that get replied to. So it's a bit about your content, the copy that you're actually using. Is it replyable? Whether it be a positive or a negative reply from the prospect, are they at least engaging with your emails on a larger scale? And if they're not, first try to fix that. But B, you can try to manufacture engagement. The same way that you kind of did initially. And maybe you don't have a friend or a group of 10, 15, 20 friends that want to get emailed by you every day and reply, which is fine, because if it's the same 10 to 15 emails replying to you every single day, it's not going to hold as much weight as if it's brand new miscellaneous email addresses from across the board, that you've never emailed before, that they do get a new email and they reply. That goes a lot more. I do have some solutions for that I'll get into. I don't want to spend too much time on this specific question, but basically the way to maintain good open rates is to clean your email list. Make sure you use a service like checkercom is one that we use. It's fantastic. It's relatively cheap, pretty quick, it's efficient, and it gets rid of inactive emails, spam traps, honeypots. It ensures that the email list that you're using is deliverable. Okay, so right off the top, not bouncing with your sends is going to be a huge help. Secondary, make sure that the copy and content you're using gets consistent replies and engagement. And if that's not happening with your content, a little bit later, I'll get into some other resources that you can use to fix that. Perfect. I'm going to hop in here. What niche are your clients in? What is the lifetime? Okay, perfect. So my clients specifically are anyone in the B2B space. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's, I don't want to be limiting. We have clients everywhere from marketing companies, SEO agencies, Facebook ad companies, copywriting, content. I guess that's overlapping with SEO. We also have a couple clients that do LinkedIn automation or LinkedIn outreach and lead generation, and we do lead generation for email marketing for them. I have clients that are law firms that reach out to businesses that might need help with bankruptcies, takeovers, just expanding, general counsel, accounting clients that work with other businesses. We have graphic designers. We have merchant cash advance, loan. I have actually a couple of cleaning companies. So they actually go into offices. We send out emails. Hey, do you need your office cleaned style of things? So it's business office cleaning. We don't work in any B2C niche. We have clients in the business selling space, meaning they're trying to find businesses who are looking to sell, and then they work as a broker, so business brokers, I guess you could say. We have, I guess it's pretty open. You know, in the past, we've done seasonal campaigns for a company that has lasers, and they do like for doctor and medical equipment. So it's manufacturing companies, you know, that have a specific product, like a dental chair, for example, that wants to bring it into dentists. It's very broad. As long as the clients that we have are in the business space, it's pretty reasonable that we should be able to have some success and connect them with the right people that are interested in their service. You know, for us to bring on a client, the client needs to have, for us to bring on a client, the client needs to have a unique value proposition, something that makes them stand out. Why would a customer want to reply to them? Why would a customer potentially want to work with them? You know, what makes them valuable to their clients? And as long as we can identify that, we have a pretty good opportunity for connecting with the right people and creating positive engagement and replies, and generally the client ROI. Read the next question. Do you work on a monthly retainer? Yes. Our clients typically are on a monthly retainer. There are some that are on a pay per lead, as in once we get a lead, we charge them X amount of dollars. I don't want to get into the exact pricing model that we use for either of those. It's over $1,000 and typically under $3,000. It depends on the client, how much experience we have with them. You know, for example, if there's a client in the web design space, in which I have people very familiar with, we've written copy for the web design space for forever. We know what works, we know what doesn't work. It's going to be easier for us to take on a client in that vertical, because we know how much work and effort goes into it. We have campaigns running simultaneously that are very similar. Yeah, between $1,000 and $3,000 on the monthly side per client, and then some clients are on a pay per lead basis. And then we don't get anything for a closed deal. I don't want to be that involved with our clients' processes, you know. It'd be nice, but I don't need them to open up their books. To me, that feels kind of intrusive, so it's nothing we've ever asked. Good question, though. Effective tools for LinkedIn automation that won't get an account flagged. So that's an interesting and really good question. But 3 years ago, there was probably 24 of them that we used internally and for clients. But we have seen a very, very big uptick in LinkedIn shutting everything down. I think they got acquired recently, and they probably had a good motivational push to find out who these people are that are gaming, them, taking advantage of their system and using it for their benefit, as opposed to purchasing LinkedIn InMail, you know. So there was these tools. Leonard was one that we used for a while. I think it was like getleonard.com. But then the client accounts that we had got shut down. So it's, first off, if you're going to do a LinkedIn automation campaign, make sure you create a new LinkedIn account. Don't use anyone's actual LinkedIn profile, because they have years and years of connections and networking put up on there, and you don't want to get your client's LinkedIn account shut down because you used a silly automation tool, right? So make sure not to do that. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. What I would recommend doing is manual. If you can find help, you know, maybe somewhere that the cost of work is a little bit more affordable, that you can kind of have them manually send some outbound LinkedIn messages, that would be a much better strategy. We've seen those not get shut down at all, as long as you're not logging in consistently from a bunch of different IPs. Because if you have someone simultaneously logging in from Michigan in the United States and someone logging in, you know, from Germany, it's going to be suspicious at the exact same time. So then you might get flagged and LinkedIn will send you a message. We've had that happen. So just make sure once you do take control of a LinkedIn account that you guys have that fully. Your client's not hopping in there back and forth. But again, it's best if you just create a pseudo account or a new account to run these LinkedIn campaigns on behalf of your client. So that way you don't have any potential risk of damaging their network or their credibility that they've built up, and ruining their account for them and getting them banned, because that's obviously worst case scenario, but it's a possibility. Next question here was, if you have a new potential client, do you then go out and starting these mass cold email campaigns in order to generate leads? And yeah, that's essentially exactly what we do. I don't want to consider it a mass email campaign. We don't really say blasts. What we do typically try to say here is that we do marketing campaigns, but they're very targeted and they're very niche in the audience. So for example, if a client of ours does web design, we're not just going to start emailing a bunch of, thousands and dozens of thousands of businesses saying, hey, do you guys need web design? We're going to find out what kind of clients they've worked with best in the past, who they have the best chance of closing, what niches they have experience in. Maybe they have testimonials or case studies from a specific niche or industry. For example, one of our website design clients works exclusively or primarily with restaurants. So for them, we took a deep dive inside of not just restaurants, but is there a specific type of restaurant? Is it fast food joints, or is it quick dining, or is it expensive dining? What style of restaurant do you work with? And then when we're working with the restaurant, what kind of revenue, how many employees, how large are these businesses? So we take a very, very, very targeted approach. So that way we can tailor our copy to be more effective, because what works, what some owner of a $200,000 hot dog chain or stand, per year might resonate with is not going to be the same thing that a $3 million high-end steakhouse resonates with. So we need to tailor our copy to the target market that we're sending our messages to, and essentially that's what's going to create the most engagement, positive replies, and then qualified leads too. Because in our copy, we're going to use examples. Maybe we're going to include, I don't like to include links, but if sometimes we do, just for deliverability or for positive engagement, we'll include a link specifically to a case study from a similar client. So as stated, if it's a hot dog stand, we're not going to be sending them a case study from a $3 million steakhouse, right? So, understanding who specifically we're targeting, we try to get about 10 leads per 1,000 contacts introduced to the campaign. That's about our standard average. Maybe sometimes it's 7, depending on the specific industry. Of course, some are typically going to be harder to connect and resonate with. The next question is, where do you get your targeted email list from? So at the beginning of this kind of spiel, at the very beginning of this episode, I started talking about when I first got started. I was scraping Craigslist, for post ads by companies, and kind of building up a network that way. We've been significantly more advanced, and one of our, I'll show you here, one of our companies now that we have is B2B Data Guy. This is one of the first ones I started after I started doing the email marketing and lead generation, and it's where we sell our email and data lists. We guarantee high delivery, yada yada yada. I'm not going to pitch you on the service, but the way that we generate our email lists, we have over 36 physical servers running in the back office here, and we actually run those tailored as we need to. So basically they scrape web searches, public listings. They compile data sets from open information, and as we compile these, we verify them. I do love a program that we don't own or have a partner with, or we work with them in that we use their service, but Email Checker. So we'll scrape a bunch of information from Google or websites, and just try to compile some lists and of basic information, and this is just like a tool, random things that we've built over years. So there's no real specific source. A lot of data vendors we don't love. We've tried a couple, but overall we've seen the information that we've gotten to be outdated, Databases just are that they're kind of old, potentially stagnant. It's not anything I want to really push. There's none that have been fantastic for us. Even LinkedIn, it's good, kind of. There's like some LinkedIn scraping tools, but they're not really fantastic. The bounce rates are super high even after email checker, just because of I really don't know if it's honeypots or what it is that get passed, but they're not fantastic. So I've found it best to, if you can, not to say manually look, but there's some services out there, and we don't have one, that might be able to give you like a VA time, a virtual assistant, and they might be able to go to different websites and compile lists for you based on who your target parameters are. I've seen those services out there, and I've heard pretty good results. But for us, we use our internal scraping tool, and we do sell that data at B2B Data Guy, but I'm not trying to push it on anyone. It's just kind of, it is what it is. It's there and available. But yeah, that's where we get our data. Next question came in here. Do you have any proprietary software that you're using? Third-party stuff like Mailshake? Yeah, absolutely. So proprietary, the only thing that I'm not going to go into details on is our data, exact data list. And that's going to just be because of our processes that I've built over 6-7 years, the core software and tech stack that goes into combining those. It's kind of part of the secret sauce of our business. But the open third-party tools that we use, I love to talk about. They're really cool. I'm happy to share them. So QuickMail is one of my favorite platforms. It, yeah, like I said, someone said Mailshake. I have some experience with Mailshake, but pricing, once you get up to a certain amount of email accounts on, QuickMail makes sense. So we have almost, 200 and change specific email accounts. So for us, it's worth it to have QuickMail. It's solid. The support is very fast and efficient. When we have questions, they're on the ball. So that's really nice. I also, Woodpecker is pretty good too. For the price difference, there's not much differences. Honestly, the only reason I have they do the exact relative same thing. The only reason I have a preference is QuickMail's kind of been the first one I found, and it has a little bit better UI as far as I'm concerned. Just looking at it, it looks a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, but there's really no difference between Woodpecker and QuickMail. There is a difference in delivery though, so especially if you're using like a Gmail server, Gmail SMTP or the API to connect right through the O authentication, they're gonna treat them differently depending on what style of mail's been sent from each. So I do keep both active along with reply.io. That's also a good one too. I'd highly recommend. Reply's done some good things lately with their agency model. So pricing gets affordable if you have over 50 or so accounts there, relatively, cheaper. But I do definitely like both of those services. Outside of that, yeah, email checker is a big one. And then we have a service that we're kind of just launching here too this month. And anyone who wants to try this, I'll give you one free account just to follow us on Twitter. And then when you put this in, so our Twitter is cold email PCast, and then come to email warm up. So what I'll do, guys, is I'll give you a free email account. All I want you to do is follow us on Twitter, and maybe if you like it, give us a shout out. But basically, this is what warms up the email account. So we're taking your email account that you just created, whether it be a Gmail's mail account, as long as it's a business email, or a Rackspace account, and then we are going to slowly introduce it to. We have a network of tens of thousands of email accounts that we own, that we operate internally. So as you buy a new account, what we'll do is we'll take it and we'll start sending between 5 and 10, 15, 20. We'll slowly, gradually scale up, but not to a cold audience, to our warm internal addresses. Like I said, tens of thousands of them, and they'll be different every time, but we'll create positive engagement and reply with this account. So over time, it will look more and more credible, and after about 2 to 3 weeks, you'll be able to send 200-300 emails, and they'll all get delivered to the inbox because of the positive engagement that we've been creating with this account over the past couple of weeks there. So that's a pretty solid one that we're just kind of very excited for. I think it'll be a pretty big thing to help companies, because a lot of times, and that's what we're trying to do right now too. A lot of times we get into a situation where clients say, hey, I don't need all of these services. I have a marketing guy. I have a contact list. My emails aren't getting delivered. We need help, So this is going to be kind of a tool available to go on there. And I don't see any more questions here in the sidebar, but send them in if you have them. I'm happy to explain and elaborate on anything that we do here. But I'm going to go back to some of the questions I got sent to me once I said I was going to do this. And I'm just going to kind of start here. I'd love to learn about how you work operationally. Are you leveraging any outside media publishers to buy inventory from? No, not a ton of media publishers. Essentially, we have an internal team of copywriters that do, content, and our whole copy is done internally for our campaigns. We don't have much media or like, I guess personally, we might have connected with some brands and had some SEO done for us. But for our client side, we're not quite doing that yet. It's something we're interested in. We've toyed with the idea. We're really good at lead generation and cold email marketing, but we don't want to offer a service like connecting with, media buyers or publishers on our client's behalf until we really understand that scope more. So for now, that's a no, but it's something we're open to. What different channels do we utilize was the next question here. So right now it's LinkedIn somewhat. We utilize email marketing, I would say, is a good 75 to 80%. But what we do now is we're just kind of starting this for a select few clients. Once we send out, let's say, 1,000 emails and our open rate is, 50%, what we're doing is taking those 500 contacts that have opened the email, they're engaged with your brand, they're familiar with your brand, and we already know that they're your primary target market. We're taking those contacts and we're putting them into a remarketing campaign on Facebook. And I know you need at least 1,000 contacts, so I guess I should have said, you have 3,000 contacts we've emailed, not 1,000. But we'll take those and we'll put them into a remarketing campaign, and then we'll be able to kind of, further engage. So if they didn't see or if they didn't reply right away, then they might fill out a lead form or a Facebook lead form right then and there. And we've seen good results from that on our early tests. The re-engagement from people who have opened or clicked on links in the outbound emails we've sent. So that's a channel we're really looking to get into and expand on in the next 3 to 6 months here. And then the next part of this person's question here, Nemo, was, also curious what kind of marketing budgets you go after. So for us, when we pick out a client, I stated our costs, so they have to be able to afford that $1,000 to $3,000 range. But also, we need to have enough. I mean, it's tough to say we have a minimum revenue for our clients, meaning if it was $500K, because a one-man shop, an accountant who's looking to work with other business owners, and he let's say he does $150K annually, he can afford us, if he has minimal expenses. So it's tough to put a revenue range for us internally, because there's all different sizes and styles of companies that could use our services. Someone said, my open rates aren't bad, but I need help with the follow-up. Okay, so that's a very important part. Actually, here I have the perfect answer. So we have a cold email academy, we call it, that we've written here after analyzing, over 200 campaigns, which means over 750 unique email messages, but probably almost 1 million actual sends get sent out. So we know what actually works, where leads come from, what messages get replied to. And as you can see here, follow-ups are very important. So the introduction email, it's going to catch them. That's where about 25% of our leads come from. But we are still seeing 20 and 15% from the first and second follow-ups. So it's very important that we don't just drop off, and we do continue to engage with these audiences or the exact defined customers and target market that you have. And if you're looking for follow-ups, I have some examples written here of the way to write a good follow-up, some things to say, some things to do. What we really want to push is that you don't be too long in your emails. That's the biggest. Clients come to us and they give us an email example, and there might be like, 4 paragraphs of information. And it's like, dude, these guys don't even know you. They've never heard of your business. They don't want to read 4 paragraphs of information from someone they have no idea who is, right? So that's kind of a big starting point there. And I can elaborate on that if anyone. Oh, if you had to start over again, how would you do it and estimate startup costs? Yeah, that's a good question. If I had to do it over again, how would I an estimate of startup costs? So, in short, I would probably have. I mean, I would know the tech stack that I'm using for sure. I wouldn't have spent so much money up front. I mean, I know the tech stack and I know my team, right? That obviously is the biggest 2 things. Right now, I have a really core, valuable and solid communication with a lot of the pieces that make the business run. Okay, I have. We're not just based in the U.S., so I have a team overseas too, and the people I've met have been fantastic in helping us grow, and just sticking around, troubleshooting problems, communication has been great. As far as the U.S., our sales team has been fantastic, and it took a while to get there too. I didn't just we didn't just go with the first VA or the first sales guy or the first account manager that we found. It took a lot of testing and trying out, and slowly we've kind of built out who's going to stick around, and we've stuck together, and it's been a really, really cool process. So if I would have been able to say 6 years ago that I know who these exact pieces and parts and people are, that would obviously help me streamline thing, and I'd be 3 years ahead of myself. You know what I mean? So that would be great. But if I were to start over, I would probably start thinking more long term too, about some of just like the branding and the tools. So the first brand I ever made was B2B Data Guy, and that still gets a lot of traction. It comes up from a lot of articles, and it just gets views and clicks a lot. But I don't love that at all because it's dated. It's not B2B Data Guy. I'm not a one-man shop anymore. I have, like I said, a team. There's a lot of moving parts. So it doesn't really fit our niche. So we rebranded, to better B2B leads, and that's been great. But yeah, I guess I would just kind of think bigger picture, more long term, if I were to start that over again. And then as far as startup costs, I mean, that's part of it too. When we first got going, there was dozens of handfuls of things. Every single employee you try to hire, that's a cost. And especially if they don't stick around, that's a sunk cost. If they're not the right fit, that's thousands of dollars down the drain. The same thing with tools. You might try, like we tried freaking ClickFunnels, because I thought it would save me some time and money. And that was just a couple $100 down the drain. Or at first you try to get more traction and you buy a backlink from an article on Forbes for $500, and it doesn't go anywhere. It's from an article 7 months ago, so it doesn't even boost your SEO. It's obviously a bad practice, regret it. But yeah, there's things that I just spent money on to try that we wouldn't have known, if we wouldn't have known if we didn't at least give it a shot. So I would have avoided those things that didn't work. But with all those different things that we tried that didn't work, there's an equal or greater amount of things that did. So they needed to happen. I'm not saying don't try some of those things. Those needed to happen. Do you integrate SMS or ringless voicemail drips into your email sequences? Yeah, so that's a really good question. We have done SMS. It is a really risky space. And it's impossible to do correctly because, as you probably have assumed here, we're not sending to opt-in lists, right? So with the cold email marketing, it's legal, it's can spam compliant, where we're sending targeted, engaged emails to a very niche audience, um, to a very niche audience. So when we take that and we try to replicate it with SMS texts, it's first off not legal if they didn't opt in. So we have to hide behind, walls and layers, and it's just a mess. And I wouldn't recommend it because people get agitated. The lead rate is still there, if we because the open rate. So the open rate's 100%, 97%, meaning people check the text they get on their phone always. So that's awesome. But the people don't want to get their text messages. So the positive reply rate's like 0. The negative reply rate goes through the roof. And then you almost just don't seem credible if you're reaching out to a business on an SMS text. So for us, it just hasn't been efficient or a valuable practice, and we're not going to really try again for the foreseeable future, at least, and unless we hear otherwise or read some crazy case studies that prove otherwise. Next question that just came in here is, ringless voicemail drops though are fantastic. Yes. So more than ringless voicemail drops, if we're having a slow day, like let's say I got 3 sales guys and our goal for them, to generate at least 5 to 6 leads a day, warm ones from email. If we don't generate these leads, but we have people, we have all the tracking software, so we can see who opens, who's opened and clicked on the emails we send out. Let's say there's someone, a group of, web designers that we're trying to sign as clients. Let's say there's 700 we sent an email to, and 200 of those opened up the email over 3 times. I'll have our sales guys call them and then automatically leave a voicemail, but they're not, they're ringless, but they're not automated, because I want them to be very personal and to the point. There's also a really cool software here, and it just takes a few seconds. It's just an automated thing. Hey, Tom, I'm on your website here, xyz.com, and I sent you an email. I saw you opened it a couple times. I'm following up to ask XYZ. Quick, simple voicemails, just like the quick, simple emails. But in addition to that, there's this program, or this service called Loom. We pay for it. It's like $10 a month, but there's also a free option, and it is awesome. So if you're looking to make a quick introduction video to a potential client, I highly suggest loom.com. The free version does most of what you'd want. It just caps out at 100 contacts. So that's where that's why we had 100 videos, excuse me. And then you take that link and you paste it right into your video, and you say, hey, I made you a personalized video, check it out. Here's what I think we can do. I usually have the client's background in the background, or their website in the background of me talking, so it works out pretty good. They can see it's personalized and it works well, and that the reply rates from that are awesome. Highly recommend that. The next question here that came in is, what's the average lifetime of the customer? And that's really going to depend on 2 things, maybe more. The average lifetime value of a customer is going to depend on their sales, meaning, can they afford us from the get-go? Do they have enough budget to work with us? And some clients come on and they're upfront. They say, hey, I have a $2,000 marketing budget. You guys are typically a little bit more than I'd like to spend, but I have, okay, sorry, just reading that text. Okay, so they're $2,000, and they have $2,000 to spend on their marketing budget. How can we make this work? And typically we don't want to work with that, because marketing takes time. Yeah, we get leads right away, but there's a refinement process, an optimization process, meaning every single week we try to have a meeting with our clients and we go over the leads. We say, hey, this past 7 days, you got, let's say, 5 leads. Who were they? Were they quality leads? Could they afford your service? Were they valuable? Did you close them? Did you make an ROI? And if no, we'll have to fine tune and say, okay, what industry were these leads in? Or what job title were these leads? And so we'll take the good leads and the bad leads, and we'll find similarities between each section. So the good leads, we're going to be able to break down and figure out why they were good. Same thing with the bad leads. And then we'll refine our copy to be more appealing to the leads that were positive. And we'll refine our data to be the same and weed out the bad. So it's a slow optimization to create the perfect to create the perfect kind of marketing campaign. So if you come on board and you can't afford it right away, and you try for a month or two and you don't make an ROI, what we've had actually happen a lot is smaller agencies, video producers, photographers who might have a marketing budget that can just afford us for a couple months, but their sales cycle is closer to 3 or 4 months, or maybe even 1 or 2 months, 2 or 3 months, not instant. What happens is they'll run with us for 2 months, and then they'll take a break, be like, hey, we have 10 leads in the pipeline that we're working, we think we're going to close, we just don't have the budget right now. And then they'll come back, a month later and say, hey, I got 3 of those deals, let's fire it up again, let's keep this bad boy rolling. So that happens a lot. So it's really tough to put an exact number on our average lifetime of the customer, but typically, if they are getting leads and they have a sales team that can close leads, they follow up on time, they follow some best practices as far as maintaining a positive relationship with their leads, and they continue trying. We have lifetime clients. It's tough to run out of data for a lot of them, meaning the target market is pretty big. There's a lot of people. So it's pretty open-ended, and each industry is quite different. I would say the minimum a client comes on is like 3 months, because we build it up in a way that there's leads coming in right away. The only way that they don't know if it's profitable for them is if they can close the leads or not. So that's where I would say most clients are about at least 3 months, with the average probably being around 9 to 12. But then at very half staying on indefinitely, not leaving at all. And the ones that do after 9 or 12, it's hey, we're going to come back, we need a break, we need to hire another sales guy, or we have to figure out how to, what direction we're taking our business, or what have you. There's just a handful of different reasons that a client could need a break. So it's a tough question to answer. But yeah, it's all over the board. The next question is, do you run into any GDPR, CASL, or CCPA issues? So not yet. As it sits, cold B2B emails outreach, so business to business, for a targeted and relevant message is completely legal, 100% in the USA. We don't do any Canadian marketing. We don't do any, outbound messages to employees or companies based out of Canada or Europe. So for us, we haven't had that as an issue whatsoever. So not really, not yet. That's not something we're staying up to date. We know that I know the can spam law, like the back of my hand, and knock on wood that stays pretty open-ended and acceptable for business use, right? The next one here is, you mentioned that you usually charge a couple $1,000s per month per client. How many leads are you generating on average for those clients, and how many emails would be sent out? That's a very good question. Typically, we shoot for the rate of 10 leads per 1,000 emails sent. Our goal for an open rate is about 35 to 45%. And these are metrics that we're hitting across the board for the most part. There's a couple clients that are higher, a couple clients that are lower. Now, our pricing, as you go up, you will get more volume of sends. So I think we have a client paying $26.50. He's getting 5,000 contacts added to his campaign per month, and he's getting about 50 to 60 leads a month. So he's beating that average of 10 per 1,000 by about 20%. And yeah, that's a rough number. So it's that, I think that kind of answers your question there. If you want me to elaborate, please let me know. William, all the messages you send are being retracted. I don't know if it's purposely, or if you're trying to ask something, or if it's just happening. If you want, you can shoot it to me on Skype at andrew@b2bdataguy.com, and I'll be able to read it there and find it. But I can't read the messages. It looks like you've tried to ask 4 or 5 questions here, and they're all getting removed. So sorry about that. Is SDR or BDR role a good start for someone getting into sales? Yeah, absolutely. And it really depends on what your goals are and what you're trying to do. You know, I guess I have to wear a lot of hats. I have to be a marketing professional. I have to be a sales guy. I have to be a team leader. And it's a lot of hats. So I can't tell you, you know, if you're looking to be in a sales role, where to start or how to do it. I've just kind of had to find a hat and put it on, and some days new hats come in the door and I have to figure out how those fit too. So it's always pretty interesting. But good luck. Yeah, absolutely. And here, hey guys, I want to mention this again while I have everyone. Please feel free to add us on Twitter. We just made this today, so there's like no followers at all. But I would be happy to give you guys a free warm up on our platform here. The which one is it? Domain and email warm up service. So if you're looking to do some cold emails on your own, follow us on Twitter at the Cold Email Podcast. Ask us any questions. You know, we're gonna try to do something like this every week, where it's a quick Q&A, but we also have episodes coming out with our clients that we're making, and I'll plug that at the end of this whole spiel here. But yeah, let's go back to it. Sorry, we got a little sidetracked there. Yeah, follow us on Twitter. That'd be great. It's Cold Email PCast right here. Boom. I'll put that in the chat. Okay. Let me go back to the questions here. I'm just wondering if you think it's possible to build a business similar to what you have going while also working a 9-to-5 job. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had a 9-to-5 job when I started scraping Craigslist for emails and creating a small network of 3,000 people that I could find in the metro I lived in to market to. So yeah, I mean, it's not as easy as, I mean, here's the thing. I know exactly what I did, and I might have gotten lucky, and it might have just happened to work a couple times, and then I kept finding a couple other things that worked. But for the most part, I think there's a lot of doable things out there. I mean, you know, we've opened up 3 or 4 separate ventures in the sense of like this podcast, but you know, Better B2B Leads as a spin-off from where we started at B2B Data Guy. I've created and sold a couple very similar niches of companies that I can't mention yet, but you know, nonetheless, yeah, there's plenty of opportunity in to create something similar if you're providing value and quality something to a quality service, I guess, to your client base. That's kind of it. Yeah, and people do this every day with a 9-to-5. It just takes a little bit of you know, ambition and know-how and some research, and I think you can absolutely still make it work. Are there any more questions? I'm gonna kind of go back to the ones I got in my inbox here and see, but if you guys have them, I will be happy to continue answering. How did I get my first paying customer? That was a question I got privately messaged, and I kind of went into that. I think, yeah, we went on the Craigslist, the scraping, and I just sold them. I mean, I just kind of called and overpromised, and I got lucky enough to deliver what I promised. And he gave me an awesome review, introduced me to a couple of people, and eventually I ran out of Craigslist contacts to keep, you know, marketing to, but I made it work and found other solutions and resources and put them together. The next question that came in here would be interested to hear how you verify your email addresses and what you allow as an acceptable bounce rate in your campaigns. And the reason that all right, so first off, anything over like 1% is pretty high. Maybe, well, there's 2 things. There's a soft bounce and a hard bounce. And a soft bounce is gonna be like their inbox is full, or their spam filter didn't allow it. A hard bounce, which is gonna affect you much more negatively as far as your sender reputation, is gonna be a hard bounce is gonna be that your the email that you tried to reach doesn't exist. Okay, so if you have hard bounces, those are going to be flagged, and your reputation is going to take a big hit. So a hard bounce rate has to be under 0.5 to 1%. A soft bounce rate, on the other hand, can be 1% to 1.5%. So you really don't want a combined bounce rate of over 3%. That's like, to maintain a quality reputation, that's what you have to be. Now, I'm going to look at something real quick here. Inside of email, checker.com. Again, I don't have any affiliation with this. I just love their service. The team, I want to say they're based out of Europe somewhere, but they're fantastic. They reply to my emails. They're super friendly, and they're just nice to work with. They have a couple different rankings for when you put in a list of emails on what they classify them as. And the one ranking that the only one we use is called OK, meaning it's 100% valid, it's deliverable. We don't use unknown or, possible, or, there's a couple other things I can't recall off the top of my head. But we don't use those. If it's a catch-all or an unknown, don't put it in your campaign. It's like, it's a couple, maybe 20% more contacts, but your delivery has a 20% chance higher of getting, a 3 to 4% more bounce rate, which is going to overall make less people actually see your email in the first place. So just don't do that as a whole. The next question here, you mentioned that you don't contact businesses in Europe. Would your business model be illegal over there? Yes. According to the GDPR, you cannot email or outreach market to people that haven't opted in, or sorry, you can't email people who haven't opted in to your campaign or to your company. Now, this is very similar to the way the US has it for consumer. So we don't do any consumer cold marketing either, and we don't do any blasts either, meaning if someone's trying to, like, I've had people come to me and try to do Forex trainings or certifications. And it's like, they don't have a niche. They just want to email all business owners. Yeah, of course, we could put together a blast of 600,000 business owners. But dude, that's spam. That's not a targeted email. That is going to ruin your reputation, and I don't want to be associated. It's just not what we do at all. It's not the way to create quality leads. It might make you a couple bucks, but it's not sustainable. And I'm a big advocate that says cold emailing, as long as you do it correctly, targeted, with a conscience, and you have a very clear path for what you're trying to do and trying to achieve, you can make it relatively successful and sustainable for yourself. Whether you're doing this yourself for your own business, you're just trying to get some more quality leads coming in the door, or you're trying to have your own practice, what have you. It's just be above books. You know what I mean? Don't abuse systems. Don't go overboard. Just kind of take it one step at a time. But all that being said, I'm gonna wait. I know there's like a delay here between what I say and when it comes to you guys, so I'm going to give it 1 or 2 more minutes on the questions. If anything else comes up, I think I've kind of talked about the most of the questions that came in the door. But I'm gonna plug again the Twitter. Follow that. I'm also going to the Twitter cold email PCast. I'm also going to say, come check out the emailwarmup.net as a service. If you guys follow us on Twitter, mention that in the box here, and I will happily do one email account for free, and we'll get that going. Additionally, I want to mention, if you're just trying to learn a little bit of information, some do's and some don'ts, the betterb2bleads.com/academy is a fantastic starting point. Again, my entire team put this together over 200 client campaigns. We analyzed, we broke down what subject lines work, what subject lines don't, how to actually get inbox and engagement and replies. So this is it's a free tool. It is the greatest thing. There's not even like promos or advertising for ourselves in it. It is just something you should check out. I'm gonna put that link in here too. Another question came in. Could you mention again how many leads you deliver per client? If someone is paying $2,000 a month, what's the minimum deliverables they'd expect to receive from you? Um, sorry. So the minimum, okay, so a $2,000 campaign is gonna be. We start at like 1,550, so with no discounts, it'll be about 2,200 contacts added to the campaign. We would expect to deliver about 18 to 20 very qualified leads. Very qualified leads meaning someone exactly in their target market saying, yes, I want to do this with you. It is about the rate. But again, this depends on industry. We have some industries where it's much easier to get a lead per send ratio, and we have some industries where it's much harder. So it's going to depend on the client themselves, the value proposition they're bringing to the table, and the target market that you're reaching out to. And honestly, someone just said, what do you think of Gong? I'm not sure. I've never actually heard of Gong. I will check it out, and I will make a post or a comment on it on my next time, going into some details here, because it seems very interesting. I just have no actual experience with it whatsoever. Um, cool. I will look it up. It looks like it adds data value to a list you already exist. There's a couple companies out there right now. Um, Honestly, it's one of those things where it's very valuable if it works correctly. There's a couple of those analytic add-on tools where it adds engagement information to your existing data list. And we found them to be just so bogus, meaning they'll say, oh yeah, you give them a list of companies, and it adds a column that says what those companies might be interested in purchasing, maybe a software or a WordPress developer or something. So we try to use that data specifically to target to a specific campaign. And we've seen just the same results, basically. If we target a group of people who are looking for WordPress development based on a software's tool, the lead to reply rate is going to be the exact same if they're not. So that hasn't been super successful. But again, I don't know Gong. Gong could be even different. It looks like you might be analytics and not add-on data. So that could be completely separate from what I'm suggesting here. I'm going to post all the links actually in the chat so you can access them. And then I'll make a little write-up after this here, and I'll post it on a couple different subreddits and then our blog, so that way we can access the links and the tools and the information shared here. But everyone, I think, do you find your own customers by email, or do you guys have a team for telesales as well? We eat our own dog food 100%. Absolutely. All of our leads come from either our email campaigns or our our referrals. Our clients often, that's probably 70-30. We have clients, and they'll be like, oh, you guys are, actually getting me leads. And then they'll tell their friends or their colleagues in other businesses, and that works out really well. Where, unfortunately, I haven't drove any traffic I haven't recently tried to drive much traffic to our website to get inbound leads. About 4 years ago, we did that a bit, and it was nice, but I don't have that many funnels out there right now. So it's all just outbound lead generation email campaigns. We don't do any cold calling. I don't want to say it's dead. I just don't want to say it's the most valuable thing for me to pay our sales team to do right now. There's probably a market for it. It probably works quite well. I know that there's a lot of advocates for it, but I just don't do it because we have enough warm leads. You know what I mean? We have enough warm leads to keep a few guys busy. So why have them cold? Yeah, no telesales. What about subject lines? I get lazy and I just say regarding our talk earlier, after I talk with him on the phone, or I just missed you on the phone if I left a voicemail. Yeah, I like open-ended subject lines that they're going to click on. The goal of the subject line is to make them read the introduction sentence in your email. The introduction sentence in your email is to make them read the follow-up. The follow-ups to make them read the call to action, right? So every piece has its own role or job, and the same thing applies here, um, for your subject lines. So I like to say company name checking in. Now to do this, you have to have quality data. If it's wrong or if it's all goofy, you're gonna look like a silly person. So don't do that. Make sure you're using quality data and quality first names. If you're inserting your first name and company name tags, don't have LLC. Depending on where you're getting data from, some of them might include LPC or LLC or CO, or SVC at the end of the company name column. Clean that up in Excel, okay, before you put it into a campaign. It'll be way more efficient. But my favorite subject lines, I mean, first off, we have a chapter on them here in the Academy, but also I like to use first name touching base, company name following up, or coffee next week, comma first name, stuff like that. It's open-ended. It's not a lie. It's specific to them. It's targeted, but it's unique. Okay, and it could be anything. So yeah, I would definitely go that route. Subject lines that are personalized are the way to go. Very, very optimistic there. Are we hiring? I would say that companies are always hiring quality talent, no matter what. So if you have value or experience or a specific thing to offer, yeah, please shoot me an email at andrew@b2bdataguide.com. I'll put the link over here shortly in the chat, and I'd be happy to discuss. Like I said, quality companies are always hiring quality people. So that's a for sure. What's your experience in the legal marketing industry? If any, do you have any tips to engage lawyers through email? Yeah, lawyers are tough to engage though, because they read everything so finely and granularly. We have 2 software development companies right now. Sorry, not software, security, back-end IT security companies right now. And it was the hardest and longest campaigns to figure out, meaning we had to actually test dozens of different email variants and copy before we figured out something that actually works. And I don't have the copy in front of me, and I don't want to open the file here because I don't know what else we're gonna stumble into. I don't want to give away any client names, but for the law firm specifically, it was the one alternative to our golden rule of short and sweet and to the point works. That's not really what is true for law firms. They're granular, they're particular, they want to know who they reply to, so you can have a little bit extra copy. I usually preach 3 to 4 sentences per email. You can go a little bit more for the law firm style. That's what we found, but I'll share some of that. If you want to email me specifically, I'll share some copy with you that we've used for law firms. I'll put my email in here again for both the resume and the data guy.com. Okay. Yeah, so that's my answer for the law firm. It does work. You can do it. It has to be a little bit longer, a little bit more, not engaging. They're always engaging, but a little bit more professional in tone, and you have to kind of be more specific with what you're going to do. Never say like, hey, do you need help with your marketing? It has to be more pain point specific, exactly their problem, address it, fine tune, figure out what their problem is within that specific, be very granular and targeted when we're sending these, and then figure out what it is we're looking for. Okay. Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't make sense. Yeah, someone just said, it wouldn't make sense to do cold calling to sell an email service. And that's, what's funny? Because it's the best way that we get lead, or not the best way. When we're on the phone with the lead and they say, oh, well, cold email marketing doesn't work. They're like, you can't be serious. You're trying to generate leads with cold emails. It's like, yeah, Tom, I sent you an email 3 days ago and you replied and you said, yeah, call me today. So, right. I mean, this exactly. And he's like, oh, I guess you're right. I didn't even realize that was a cold email. It's like, so if a cold email is done right, the consumer doesn't know it's an automated cold message, right? That's their goal. So it's funny because that's exactly what's happening. Yeah, you would never cold call to sell an email service, but half the time, if done correctly, the email marketing service isn't, they don't know it's an email marketing service. It's a one-on-one business to business email that's credible, and it's targeted, and it works, and it's engaging, and you create a really positive rapport right off the gate with you and your ideal customer, you know. And I think that's kind of that. I'm going to take just 2 seconds. I'm going to go upstairs and get a cup of coffee from the coffee upstairs, I guess, yeah. And I will be right back. If you guys have more questions, put them in the comment section here, but I will be, yeah, just 30-40 seconds and we'll be good to go. And if you leave, thank you for your time, and email me any questions. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. So a couple more questions here. What do you use? Or wait. What tool do you use to A/B test? So yeah, I think I mentioned earlier in the beginning of this, we use Quickmail and Woodpecker. Both of those tools have the capabilities to Quickmail and Woodpecker have the capabilities to put unlimited variants for your subsequent messaging. So I'll show you what I mean here. Quickmail, I guess. Sorry, give me a sec. Okay. Yes, we use A/B testing all the time. It is probably the most important thing, and not just specifically for the point of figuring out what email is better than the other. Obviously, that's a very important thing. A/B test your subject lines, A/B test your copy, your content, your call to actions, A/B test all those things. But it's also super important to A/B test for your outbound email servers and your reputation, because if you just send the same message with a couple different things input here and there to all of your audience members, you are going to look like a robot. You know what I mean? It's like human beings. So the way email's going, to get delivered into an inbox, the inboxes and the email servers of the world want it to be human being to human being. You know, to not get put into the spam folder or the promotions tabs, you got to be a human, and a human being's not going to send the exact same series of words to 40 different people a day, right? He's not going to send the exact same message with maybe a different first name to everyone. So A/B test different subject lines, different variables, different calls to actions, introduction lines, make the wording a bit different, use, you know, just phrases, and that will really create a better overall delivery and a more sustainable positive reputation for your or for your outbox senders. Okay. So yeah, I use so to answer your question more specifically, I use the tools that I use to deliver my emails. We wouldn't use an email tool that didn't have the function of A/B testing, and that's where Woodpecker and QuickMail and Reply.io are fantastic. The next question here that came in: do you have any insight regarding use of email marketing to promote affiliate products? Do you have any clients that do affiliate marketing? So, a bit ago, I think I mentioned something about B2C, and we don't really work in the B2C space whatsoever. I think a lot of affiliate products are B2C. I get emails all the time. Okay, let me retrace. There are a lot of B2B affiliate marketing as well. I get products all the time, and the way to do affiliate marketing is different than cold email, I think. I think affiliate marketing is best served from a trusted source. For example, if this podcast works and we get a following and there's, you know, thousands of people that are coming to me for answers, and you know, email checker says, hey, Andrew, I like what you're doing, promote me, I'll give you a cut of the people. They don't. But if they did, I would say sure, because I trust your product and I use it myself, and why not make some money for promotion as an affiliate? That works. That's fine. Same thing with, you know, like QuickMail, Woodpecker. But through email, if you're doing it, you know, what we've found is the cost per lead, typically, it's relatively high. So for an affiliate product that you might get 20 or 40 bucks for, even if it's a $100 or $200 product, it doesn't seem to be worth it based on how many emails you're going to have to send. Once you start sending more emails, your delivery is going to go down. It's going to be harder to maintain. So unless there's a really big product price point on the affiliate product, it doesn't seem to me to make a ton of sense to push that, is what I would say on the affiliate side. If that makes sense. Yeah, outside of that, I'm out of things to discuss here, guys. I appreciate the time that we've had, and like I said, I think we should wrap this up. Again, follow all of these things that I put, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm going to promote the shit out of this podcast everywhere. So I'm hoping to get it some traction, and we'll keep it going. All right. Thank you very much, all. I am ending this now. Cheers, everyone.